We're gonna bring it home with rapid fire questions, and we're gonna weave in some nerd content in there as well too,
Please,
because
it would be weird
absolutely,
if you didn't.
if we didn't. So, okay. So going into the first one, sorry, I usually have these memorized because I do the standard set, but because you're a returning guest, you get the evolving rapid fire questions because we can't do the original ones. So this one's gonna kick it off for us. The 2026 movie that you are looking forward to the most.
Oh, okay. I could probably list a million movies. Not that a million would come, maybe millions would come out with all the streaming channels, but you know, a couple actually come to mind, and I thought about this because I knew that we were gonna nerd out for a moment here. So Brand New Day, the new Spider-Man movie, which the trailer dropped, I
Oh, that
believe,
was a great
yesterday.
trailer.
I
Yeah.
assume you've seen the trailer.
Might have seen it 6 times.
Yeah, I may have seen it a million times already.
Mhm.
Trying to pull out all the Easter eggs.
Yep.
Um, so Spider-Man Brand New Day excites me because we get to see the Peter Parker on the streets, right? This
Yes.
isn't a space adventure. This isn't a huge team up, although there are some cameos appearing in the movie, which are really exciting and very tied to the Spider-Man mythology. Um, I'm really excited to see this movie. I think that anybody who come from our world of comics
Mm.
have been waiting a very long time for this. Another movie very closely tied to Spider-Man is Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday. And I'd imagine a lot of people, probably a lot younger than me, share this same sentiment. Is that like we kind of grew up watching these movies evolve, like.
Mhm.
And we have a Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's gotten to the point where Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor Doom, and they've always planned this from the beginning. At least that's what the internet is saying.
Mm.
um, I think we're at a cultural moment here. There's a lot of opinions out there about superhero movie fatigue, but this is a movie that is absolutely necessary. I think that everything Marvel and Disney has been building is for this moment in particular. I don't know where that franchise is going to go after this movie. I
Mhm.
imagine kind of spin-offs that won't be so successful. But this one is going to be like the holy grail of superhero movies.
See, I'm really looking forward to Brand New Day. I'm with you on that, like the street level Spider-Man that we've been yearning for. And especially if have you read any of the rumors on who Sadie Sink is allegedly playing? Because they have kept that under wraps. Like, she doesn't even appear in the trailer, although I
Yeah.
think there is one shot of her from behind with the hood up. Have
Okay.
you
So I
so
have my own speculation.
spoiler alerts in case anyone is listening or watching and doesn't wanna know, we have no confirmation of this, but Boris, you go first.
I think we're going to see a mutant. I think she's going to play a mutant. I think she's going to play an X-Men character. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people on screen when it happens, because what they're doing is they're bridging worlds together like they have with some of the previous movies. But this is making it absolutely real. Spider-Man is a different character, right? Because as
Mhm.
we know, the rights, are shared with another, movie company, right? So the fact that they're making this happen, I think, is a really huge deal. But my speculation is that she's going to show up as one of the X-Men characters.
You wanna pick one?
I think it could be Kitty Pryde,
Really? You think Kitty Pryde?
maybe. I don't know.
Oh, interesting, okay.
Yeah, or Rogue. Like, honestly,
I think she's Jean Grey.
you think she? Oh, yeah. Okay, that would make a
I
lot of
think
sense.
it's Jean
A
Grey
young
because
Jean Grey,
yeah.
with the red hair and all. Yeah, you know what? I think you're probably right.
Did you watch Wonder Man?
I have not watched Wonder Man yet.
Okay. Did you watch, Ms. Marvel?
Yes, I watched Miss Marvel.
Remember how and even going back to, Homecoming, did the Department of Damage Control? I would highly recommend watching Wonder Man as it's not a great superhero show, but if you watch it from the perspective of you remember the movie Birdman with Michael Keaton?
Yes.
So, basically 2 really talented actors who are so flawed that those flaws get in their own way. In one case, arrogance, and the other one, substance abuse. If you watch it from that perspective, it's a great show. I'm
Okay.
not gonna lie, it's a great show, but the Department of Damage Control plays a part in that series, and they're kind of covertly trying to find superpowered beings that could be a threat.
Oh, interesting.
And I mean, do you want another potential spoiler? It's an internet theory.
You know, I've probably already come across it on the internet, but please, yeah, share.
The internet theory is that Sadie Sink is being hunted by damage control, and the Punisher is protecting her. And that's
Cool.
how he gets woven into it because that's what the Punisher does. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to disagree with you on Doomsday a little bit. Here's my concern.
Okay.
I was not a fan of Deadpool and Wolverine. I felt that it didn't have a story. I felt that they got Hugh Jackman in, they paid him a truckload of money. Ryan Reynolds realized putting them together was gonna make even more money, and they
Yeah.
just threw as much nostalgia as they could at it. Like, if you asked me to pick one of my favorite Deadpool movies, it's the first one. I thought the first one was tight, well-timed, paced very well, and was just great and well cast, but I'm afraid that Doomsday will be like that. Like, one of the things that I was saying to, one of my other guests, friend of mine, Danny Weissman, who, co-owns Obsessed Media in New York City, is that you and I, and him as well, because he's a nerd, he's gonna be okay with me calling him that. We can deal with the multiverse a little bit. Like, we like seeing Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart come back and James Marsden in a proper Cyclops 90s outfit, but the casual fan,
Yeah.
they're the ones that's gonna push this to $1 billion. The nerds aren't going to do it. The nerds will help you make a profit, but to get to that $1 billion mark, you need other people, and if they're coming into this going, "Why? Why?" All it takes is that for them to be turned off by one movie, and then it's gonna take them another 2 or 3 films to come back. Kinda like what happened with Dick Donner's, Superman series. 1 was great, 2 was great, 3 was absolutely horrible, but because everyone saw 1 and 2, they saw 3 and was like, "This is horseshit." And,
I
like, you
Yeah, I don't know where they were going with the 3rd one. I felt
but
like
the
stop caring, right?
well,
It
what happened after
almost felt it was insulting, actually. Um,
well,
yeah. Even number 2, I had problems with the 2nd Superman movie, but the 1st one was so good that I can overlook the next 2. But here's my take on Deadpool and Wolverine. I think
okay.
that movie was intended to be exactly how you described it. I don't think that this was like, um, gonna win awards for storytelling. I think that
I agree with you there, yeah.
yeah, I think it was a product of nostalgia. I think it was a product of just making money, right? I think it was, if anything, it was a slapstick comedy. And
Mhm.
Marvel has this unique way of, playing in different genres, but with the red common theme of like thread of like this is a superhero universe, right? Like they can do horror, they can
Mhm.
do comedy, they can do romance. Um,
And then you've got different story tones with that as well. Because, like,
yeah,
did you watch the Punisher Netflix Punisher show, which is in the MCU?
yes,
It's dark as hell.
it's dark as hell, and and say I thought Daredevil was dark as hell as
Yeah, it
well,
was. I mean,
but
the opening scene in the first episode of the Netflix Daredevil series, it's human trafficking. Like, that's what they open with. Like,
right.
it doesn't get any darker than that. Well, it can, but that's still pretty dark.
But he where it comes to the Marvel television shows, I feel like it's straight out of the source material, and I feel like they get away with being more authentic on television than they do on the big screen, because on the big screen they've got to cram everything in 2 hours, right? And they're trying
Mhm.
to do way too much. Um, but I think that's just where we are in the world of movies today. I think we're in an interesting moment where nostalgia is just doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and we're trying to cram too many things in 2 hours, and we're losing sight of like what people really want. We want really great storytelling, and I think that Marvel television shows, those properties, they're giving audiences that. Um, yeah, but I love Punisher. I love Daredevil. Um, I think I would prefer the TV shows over the movies for sure. The Doomsday, I'm just really excited to see Fantastic Four, X Men,
Mhm.
the Avengers all come together, and worlds are colliding and dying, and
Yeah.
it's just like a Crisis on Infinite Earths,
That's exactly what it is,
for
yeah.
Marvel, yeah.
Okay, so you said 2 things in there before we go to the next rapid fire question, which is not rapid fire questions today anyways. You said something about nostalgia and heavy lifting, so your thoughts on He-Man?
Yeah, He-Man. Okay, so it looks cheesy, right? Everything I
It
read.
does, but it's unapologetically
Yeah, but
cheesy.
I think it needs to, right? I
Oh,
don't
it
think you
does.
can make a serious He-Man movie where it's like, a Game of Thrones,
Like a
He-Man.
Conan or something, yeah.
Exactly, right? So, I don't even know if kids know who He-Man is because He-Man has not, like, popped up throughout pop culture, like, eh, I
They've
guess.
tried to resurrect him a couple times in the '90s through animated series, but essentially it's like the Filmation show in the early '80s, the Dolph Lundgren, movie, and that was it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I grew up watching He-Man. Like, my earliest childhood memories was in my basement in Brazil, Sao Paulo, as you know,
Mhm.
that's where I grew up. Um, Sitting in the basement watching He-Man and Thundercats with my twin brother. And, we had the swords, like, play fighting was everything, right?
Did you tuck it in the back of your shirt and pull it out and yell the power of Grayskull? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah. I think I was a bigger Thundercats fan than I was a He-Man fan. But I just recall those 2 were just instrumental at, like, our childhood, like, yeah,
Okay,
He-Man.
let's jump to the next question. The 2026 TV show you're looking forward to the most?
Okay, so I'm gonna stick to sort of the theme here. I'm gonna talk about superhero shows. Um, 2 come to mind. One is Garth Ennis's The Boys.
Mm,
Really looking forward to the new season.
and
Uh,
we're wrapping it up too.
yeah,
S
just big fan of that entire series. Love the books, and when I started watching the show, um, I loved it just as much. And that rarely happens for me, where I read a book and then watch whether it's a live action or an animated series, where I love them both equally. The Boys is a perfect example of like
mm,
character development, storytelling. It's got everything that I loved about the books, right? Um, so that's one. The second one is Invincible. Uh,
yes.
yeah,
Oh,
like Robert Kirkman is a brilliant writer. Um, e- that series, the book again, and the animation is equally um, so much so satisfying. The
mhm.
rewatch equally, yeah.
That one just dropped yesterday, episode 1 and 2, I think, Prime loaded up, and I have not jumped into it yet, but
I
I'm
haven't
so on
yet
that with
either.
you. Okay, you're the head of a major Hollywood studio charged with remaking a previous film. Which movie would you choose?
Oh gosh, I get to make any movie I want. I can
You gotta
adapt
re you
anything.
gotta no, no, you gotta remake the movie. It's already out there. Come on, because we're in the era of reboots right now. So, Boris, the accounts have come to you and said, "We need a $1 billion remake."
Okay, so that's a tough question. So I'm a big fan of like 80s and 90s movies, right? Like in particular, like John Hughes movies, like The Breakfast Club. I love
Mm,
Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck is
that was a good one, yeah.
one of my favorite movies.
I'm thinking about the giant pancake already.
16 Candles. I don't think you
Mm,
can get away with some of the jokes in 16 Candles like you can today. There's some undertone like racism in there that's like, but I think it worked for the time, but I don't think it could
you
fly.
kinda have to deal with it head on, kinda like the
Maybe
Dukes of Ha
maybe that's my
yeah.
challenge. Maybe I remake 16 Candles for the modern age.
I mean, they did it with Dukes of Hazzard. There was a scene explaining the General Lee and how they were, the General Lee had the Confederate flag on the hood or the top of the car, and they were like,
Oh, they
"Ooh, this is
explained it in
awkward."
the remake?
It just kind of gets there, and then they're stuck in traffic, and someone is yelling, "Racist, what are you doing?" And they're, like, looking at Johnny Knoxville, and I forget who the other guy was. Oh
Okay.
god, I was thinking it was Stifler. They're looking at each other, and then they climb out of the car, and they're like, look at the top, and they're like, "Oh, no," and they make a face, and they climb back in, and that's kind of their nod to the audience going, "Look, we put it in there for nostalgic reasons, but we understand that this is a very dated, object or flag."
Okay. I'm gonna change my answer.
Yeah, change
Uh,
your answer, go for it.
I'm gonna pick Weird Science. I would remake
Okay.
science. In the age of AI, with the technology we have today, with consumer understanding of robotics and, you know, I think I would pick AI, and I think you could remake that movie where two teenagers program like the perfect person that they want to hang out with. Yeah, I think that that would be comical. I think it would be, um, w- I think it would just be an interesting remake for sure. Yeah, but I'm going to stick to that weird science.
I'm surprised you didn't say Thundercats because that's been something that's been batted around in development hell forever.
Yeah, here's the thing. I there's certain properties I just don't think translate well to live action. I don't think
Mm.
unless you do like a trilogy, you couldn't tell the Thundercats story.
And
And if you try to do it in 2 hours, again, you're gonna get another Deadpool Wolverine where, it's just gonna be cameos and plot holes. I don't want to be known to create that. I would rather convince children of today to go back and watch Thundercats as it existed. And I recall this was a while ago, maybe 25 years ago, maybe they remade the Thundercats cartoon,
oh,
and it was actually really good. I liked it. It made a lot more sense than it did back in the 80s and 90s because there was more storytelling in the remake of the animation than there was previously. All you need to know back in the day is that these guys come from another planet. They're all strong. They all have these different abilities. In the new animation, I feel like they tell a cohesive story and there's a really good plot and narrative.
okay. So you're still that Hollywood producer, and now you're charged with adapting IP, fresh IP
Yeah,
to the
okay.
silver screen. So what would you
Okay,
pick?
so this one is a no-brainer for me. So for those that know me really well, they know that I am obsessed with an anime called Naruto. So if I could adapt any fresh IP into live action, hands down, it'll be Naruto, but done properly. I would respect the source material, and I would build it in phases. I would actually do a trilogy, because at its core, like Naruto has everything I love about storytelling. It's a story about identity. It's a story about loneliness. It's a story about resilience, and it's deeply human. Um, I have never cried so much watching an animated show than I do watching Naruto. And I watch clips of certain moments and I get really emotional. And to me, that just means that I have fallen in love with these characters. And I would love to bring that property to life and justice. And I think that it's a story the entire world needs to hear and see.
You're the president of the United States, and you have got the files on your desk
Oh gosh,
proving
I don't
that
want that job.
no, proving that alien life is real. We have made contact. Do you declassify and share that with the public?
That's a good question.
Because you
Okay,
have to think
so
about it. You're on the outside going, "We need to know," but if you're on the inside and you can finally
yeah,
do that, you're like, "Ooh, do
so
they
so
need
it's
to know?"
being the president of anything, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. So if you're the president of the United States, aliens are here. So okay, so if it's a matter of like global impact or safety, yeah, of course, 100%, you need to disclose it, right? Because truth, even when it's uncomfortable, it builds trust, and as a leader, that's your job is to build trust amongst your peers, right? And honestly, I think humanity might be more ready than we think, right? When it comes to like aliens showing up, I think if they were going to do it, it's going to be anytime soon. With everything going on in the world,
Mhm.
it's just another thing, right? Or at the very least, it would be one hell of a unifying moment for the world. I think if aliens showed up, we're all focused on what do we do together as a society, as a planet? How do we protect our home? So that could be really interesting. But I don't think I want that job. I don't.